All right. There you go.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Appreciate it, John. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Well, it looks like everyone here is a veteran of the workshop, right? Any new folks? I don't see any.
Is I see John Moss. Is he a new person?
John, are you there? Well, I guess when we start, one of the things we do first is, I guess, answer any questions that anyone might have. Does anyone have any topics or questions or things like that that are on their mind that they like to discuss?
Big one. When are the skies going to clear up?
Yeah,
It's been a very rough time, I'll tell you. But it is
really
clear
has
tonight.
been.
I haven't
Um,
had I haven't had any of my big scopes out since the beginning of September.
oh,
That's
wow.
it's,
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme.
yeah, the only thing I've been able to do is see star every now and then, but with the holidays and everything else, that was few and far between as well.
Yeah, really, really difficult stuff. Um,
And you can
when
blame
Gary,
it on me because I did buy some new gear again.
right, right, you know who to blame. Um, how about that? Uh, okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, Joe. I think you've got some experience doing some high speed work. Um, F 2.8.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at filters. I think I've settled in on what I'm going to do for an SHO, but they're 4 millimeters thick. Do I need to match that my LRGB up those filters to be the same thickness?
Boy,
Am I
I
going to
wish
run
I.
into backspace issues or any guesses?
Yeah, I'm going to throw that out to everyone here. To tell you the truth, I'm just a one-shot color guy.
It's a no
So the only
problem if you
filters
have an
I've
old
used were were
if you
were broadband. So,
Okay.
boy, I'm a fish out of water on that one.
if you have an autofocus or it's not an issue.
Well, I was concerned about because of the F2 point, the backspaces. This thing's supposed to be a nightmare. I mean, I feel like I put both hands in the blender when I bought this thing.
It's F two
But
F two F2.8. What's the scope?
it's that Sharp Star hyperbolic Newtonian, 130 millimeters. And then I'm going to stick a bloody full frame on top of it. So let's really double
Ooh.
down on this. So this may be a 2026 project and maybe a little into 2027.
You bought you are you getting SHO high speed rated
Yeah.
filter? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've nailed down the SHO, but and they're 4 millimeters thick. So that's my whole
I,
problem is my current LRGB are 2 millimeters thick. I don't know if that's going to cause me grief or not. I mean,
yeah. I can't comment on that.
I
I
just
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, your back focus is fixed, so I mean, you have spacers and things, so you have a 2 millimeter difference. I mean, I would say you have to accommodate for the 2 millimeter difference, whether you put a spacer in or whatever. But I mean, the whole thing with back focus is it's the distance from the lens to the camera. Whatever is in between isn't going to change it.
See, I was understand the more glass you put in between it, that does affect the back focus. So,
It affects focus.
It does affect it. It's one third
yeah.
the difference in the millimeters, and so that's going to be almost two-thirds of a millimeter or something like that. And in terms of microns or something in focus, that's going to be a lot of focus adjustment. So, like say, you're going to have to autofocus or get the same millimeters.
Okay. I that's what I think I'm gonna need to do, but I was hoping somebody would say it really doesn't matter, Paul. Because you frequently get easy answers in this hobby. More to come. Once I know, I'll share it. But yeah,
I
yeah,
3D
this is going to be a painful experiment.
I 3D printed some really thin spacers for when needed. So that if you have a 3D printer, I mean, it's not a, it's something you can do pretty easily.
Yeah, yeah,
You want to get a half a millimeter or something like that of adjustment, makes it a piece of cake.
right. I mean, that may very well where I need to be is I'll just have to shoot LRGB separate from my SHO. Not the worst problem in the world, but
Are you using Nina by any chance?
yeah.
So I've never used it, but I know that you can put in individual filter offsets. And so once you've done your autofocus routine, it knows how far to move in and out as you change filters.
So as I understand it, is it's less about focusing as getting a flat field because of it's the 2.8. I can focus the center of that, but having chosen a full frame, I'm going to have crap in the corners. So I'm going to have potentially two separate back focus setups, one for LRGB and then one for
SHO.
SHO.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer. Or bloody go, I don't even know if you can find 4 millimeter LRGB to match up with everything. I mean that's an expensive bloody solution, but I will find out, I guess.
Sometimes if I have a question, I usually use High Point. Not always, but usually if I send them an email, they'll route it to someone that has some experience, and usually their answers are fairly accurate. I don't know. I mean, I would just offer that as maybe
That's a
a
good idea.
possible
That's a very
venue.
cheap
Yeah,
ask. Yeah.
right. And
Is that the general support email, Joe?
I think
A-
so. Yeah,
Actually, when I first started, well, still to this day, I started a chat with them, and I think kind of know those guys pretty well in the chat during their chat hours, and my experience has been that they may frequently say they don't have an answer or they're not sure, but when they do say something, you can pretty much bank on it. So
Okay. Good.
you may not get an answer, Paul, but if you do from them, it might be, you might be able to, put some weight behind it.
Okay. No, that's good advice.
they seem to be good at routing your question to someone in that organization that knows that
Yeah.
particular end of things. Just a thought.
Yeah,
No,
but and Joe, I haven't gotten bad information from them. I've gotten where they said they didn't know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
perfect. Hey, thanks.
I have a question if anybody can answer it. If you look over the top of the right side of my head, you'll see my ASCAR V setup. I set up a dummy in where the living room transitions to this room. And I bought a new autofocuser because I had stripped one off my Newtonian when I bought the ASCAR V. So I got the newest one, which is they call it their Pro model. Uh, it's fully set up, and that's why the scope is set up there because I was doing some testing with it. I'm at the point now where it's got to go outside and basically do an autofocus routine. Now, the earlier version, which is also the USB powered one, you had to get within, some kind of a realm where stars were starting to appear. They could be big donuts or whatever, but it would autofocus off of that. My understanding now is with this newer one, you don't even have to be close. It'll just autofocus on its own completely. Is that correct or not? I don't know. I've read both ways. So basically, what I want to do is because and the reason I put it on the ASCAR V is because of the wide selection of focal length with all of the optical accessories that come with it. I just wanted to make life easier rather than trying to memorize the focusing range for each different setup. Okay, nobody's got
It's
an
all right,
answer.
Bill.
I'll find out the hard way as soon as we get some clear skies that are worth setting up my rig outside.
I'm familiar with the scope and the flexibility of it, but I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I just didn't know where the newer autofocuser you could start from, let's say, where the thing is fully at home and it'll run itself out completely to where it's got to be. And if I want it to switch over to, let's say, the tele extender or something like that, rather than a field flattener, I could just tell it to run another focus routine and it would do it automatically without me having to sit there and get it like within, a certain boundary before it would take over on autofocus.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm told that it does, but I'm not 100% sure. So we will see. Other than that, I will say that I haven't gotten a chance to use the tele extender yet. The other two, the field flattener and so on, I've used, and the images were quite crisp. I'm really happy with the results that I've gotten, as well as the overall build quality. The thing is so precise. In fact, I got stuck with a filter inside of it, and I didn't even know that the other end of where that was set in could be unscrewed because there was no telling, there was no line or anything. I was sitting there trying to get this filter out one way and everything was failing, and then I started playing with it and playing with it. Oh wow, that unscrews. So made life a whole lot easier, but now I use the filter drawer. I won't even go through that anymore.
And that scope has been promoted, for that flexibility. And I just was a little hesitant on what kind of quality you could get out of something that
Quality
you could do so many things with.
is quality, I can tell you firsthand, is
Wow,
absolutely superb.
that's great. That's good to know.
Yeah, I've seen maybe one or two little reviews where somebody saw a little bit of elongation in the corners or whatever. I've seen zero.
Yeah, but even some elongation in the corners, you can deal with that after, with
Yeah, yeah,
post-processing.
you can process that out.
Yeah,
But
sure, sure.
my
Wow.
my raw images and whatnot have been spot on every
Mm,
time. I'm really
that's
happy I got
uh,
that thing. There's no all my other scopes need collimation and so on and so forth every so often because I have a Schmidt Cassegrain, I have a Newtonian, and I have the C Star, and and with this thing, it's a dream. It really is. Plus, I
mm,
can go to different targets now with different sizes depending on how I set it up.
huh, wow. All
So
good.
Interesting.
I've used the 60 millimeter and the 80 millimeter with the field flattener as well as the other one that he's not coming to the tip of my tongue right now, but the one that makes the field bigger. Um, Oh, Jesus, I have one for my Schmidt, and I can't think of what we call it now. But anyway, everything has been super crisp so far. And you can also use all of it with an eyepiece, even though I haven't touched an eyepiece in about 5 years.
Very nice.
I'm very happy with it. Top marks. That's all I can say. And I picked it up. They had a sale on it back towards the end of last summer, and I think they were getting like $1,900 for it, as far as the regular retail. And I wound up getting this thing for it was like $800 and change. And I couldn't say no when I saw that. So I ordered it from High Point right away, and I had it a couple days later, and things been great.
Great.
Yeah, Paul,
Sounds
I
good.
threw something in the chat about the focusing issue with the filters.
Yeah.
It is from Gemini AI, but not all AI is bad. And I've actually moved over from Chat GPT to Gemini. But what I have found is, as you are using the large language models, and if you can keep them on track, they do provide pretty good information most of the time. And I always ask them to give me the resources so I can also go check it out. But from what I had known, which I think one of the other members had said about the 2/3 rule, it mentions that, and then it gives you some actual information calculations that are telling you about the millimeter. So maybe that might be something at least to start you off in another point.
Thanks. No, that. I mean, I think the other piece of this is, what am I actually shooting? So we're talking relatively wide field. I might just optimize for those stars, the LRGB, get my back focus there perfect, and then maybe there's just some slop I can live with on the narrowband side of it. Or I bloody pull it off and I put in a 0.5 millimeter spacer on some night and just carry on. So there's definitely ways to get around it, but there, just throw money at the problem. Isn't that how we fix things?
And what I couldn't think of was the focal reducer.
Ah,
I've used that with the Ascar too. It works great.
Anyone else have any questions or thoughts or comments or?
I
I
can show you
guess,
something now. I have my 10-inch out for the first time since November, and I'm looking at Jupiter. And I could share that for a second if you wanted to see a live
yeah,
Jupiter. Let me see if I can. Um, do, 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 do. I wonder if I can. Do you guys see anything?
Yep.
oh yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's Io over here. It's going to go across with its shadow a little bit afterwards. But relatively speaking, in comparison to the nights we had, this is the best night we've had in a very long time. It's rated as average, which we've had an average
Hey, I'll take an
in
average night.
January or December. We had one or two in November, I think. But you
That
can see it kind
looks
of
like
fading in and out.
nice detail for a live view.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
you
nice
can see
stuff.
it. You can see it fading now. You'll see it come back again. This is why Lucky Imaging works. That's what.
What equipment is this, Tom?
This is a 10-inch f8.6 reflector with a 2x Barlow, a IR cutoff filter on the camera. The camera is a 462, and it has an ADC on there too, an atmospheric dispersion corrector.
You have frostbite, Tom?
What's this?
Do you have frostbite?
Well, I'm inside, yeah, but I have to go. The
Okay.
problem with the planets, if I'm shooting deep sky, I can just throw things out there, tell it to go somewhere, and if it doesn't hit it, I say plate solve, and it goes there, and I stay inside. But with
Right.
the planets, it's a very so I'm going pretty high, so it's a very small field of view. I'm outside tweaking a little bit with the handset to center it and playing
Right.
with the ADC. So it's a lot of in and out, but I'm in
Yeah.
now.
I was going to
Anyway,
try that with the moon tonight, but it's still behind the trees. So
yeah.
unfortunately, I can't do that. But
Anyway,
how about that?
that's a live feed. Maybe we'll come back to it at the very end, and the red
Yeah.
spot should be close to the middle, and the shadow of Io should be on there, so we can check back later.
Right.
Hey, Tom,
Very
do you
good.
use a live stack in SharpCap?
Well, for this, I just shoot a video with SharpCap. I'm just shooting.
Just the live.
I'll tell you what. Well, because the live stack is really for deep sky. It's like long exposure. So I'm shooting a video every 30 seconds, and my settings right now I'm about 7.1 milliseconds at about 255 gain. I have a cropped area. I'm a pretty small area, a region of interest, relatively small. 720 by 516. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
So, Tom, are you going to leave it out overnight or are you going to bring it in?
The
The 10
scope,
inch.
I always bring that scope in when it's daylight because it's just too big to move and I can't. It's hard, and especially now with the snow, um, it's really tough
Yeah, that's
because
what I was
I have a
wondering.
very narrow path to get there. What I'll
Uh,
do here is I can show you a picture. Maybe I can show you a picture.
you're pretty motivated as an old man.
It's amazing, isn't it?
So, Tom, how are you using the ADC from in the house?
Do you guys see that? That's a scope.
Yeah, it's a nice picture.
That was today, but you can see I dug around it. Well, what I do is, Joe, I go back and forth. This is the problem. I go out there and I fiddle with it when I first, well, I set it up because with the Newtonian, with equatorial mount, German equatorial Newtonian, you're supposed to have the ADC, the neutral point, parallel to the horizon. Well, if you have an equatorial mount, German equatorial, and a Newtonian, who knows where that horizon really is? So I put a fake horizon on. I put a mask on the end of the tube that covers half of the tube, and I put a level on that, and I get that so it says it's even. I basically I move the scope where it's going to be. I do this in the daytime. I move the scope where Jupiter's going to be. I did that earlier, and then I put this mask on, made it level, then looked in the eyepiece and moved the 1.25 inch adapter because it's 2 inch focuser with the little lock knob in the exact position of where the horizon neutral point is, basically where the horizon is is even. And
Ah,
when I come out at nighttime, I just I lined up the ADC little knob with that with the other
right.
with the lock nut on the 1.25 inch adapter there. So that gives me my horizon. But then I forget what the original question was, Joe.
Then you have to
Oh, I
adjust the
was,
prisms.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the way I do is then I go out. I move them apart a little bit, about 10 degrees maybe or 5 degrees on both sides. Then I go out and I come back in. I look at Sharp Cap and I use the ADC tool, and you can see the numbers of what you're getting, and you can kind of clump them together so they don't change too fast. And then I keep adjusting to get as small as I can. Um, Usually it's about like the numbers that seem to come up depending on the night. Of course, the more fluctuation in the atmosphere, the more those numbers jump around. But I try to get it around, zero point 0.5, 0.8, something like that. If I'm less than one, I'm in pretty good shape. Um, but I have to go back out, so I change them, and I'll go too far, and I'll bring it back in. So I'm going in and out. This is the problem when it's cold, is that I'm going in and
right.
out to get it. Once I get it, then I'm okay, and I'll go back, and I'll look at the ADC tool just periodically, and if it's starting to drift up, I'll go back out and make a small adjustment. As Jupiter rises, I bring that angle in smaller, make less of a correction because there's less atmosphere, less distortion. Anyway,
When
that's that.
Jupiter's this high in the sky, do you really think you need it?
it's minimal. Once you get above, it's a anything above 60 degrees, I don't think it makes any difference at all. Up to about 45 degrees, it makes a little difference, not a lot, a little. I mean, without it, like tonight right now, without it, you might get a number like 1.5. With it, maybe you get a 1, you know?
Right,
It's
right,
small. It's
right.
small.
Okay.
But I'll take anything I can get, you know?
Yeah, I never tried it from inside the house. It just
Well, you got to keep running inside now. That's that's the
right. You need track
problem.
shoes. Right, right.
What's this?
Yeah, you need track shoes.
You need track shoes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm determined eventually to learn how to use mine. But the couple times I had it out there, I gave up in frustration and just set it to neutral and ignored it. So
Yeah.
eventually, I'm going to spend the time to learn it.
Yes. In SharpCap, there's a tool to actually get your get the prisms basically parallel to the horizon, get them in a neutral point. But that's not that easy to use. I fiddled with it and I had a lot of trouble. I spent maybe an hour and I wasn't seeing. I was just all over the place. So I made this little mask up. I met somebody up at Stelfane and we were talking about things and he told me about that little trick and it makes a big difference. It's a lot easier. It gets me there before I start anything else, you know. At least I'm on
Right,
the
right.
I got that part, working. Anyway. Okay, well, I guess it's showtime, Joe.
I guess it's time.
You can't stall any longer.
No, no, no. It's I have 20 more questions, but no. Okay. Let me sorry. Can you guys see my screen
No.
at
No.
all? Can't. Okay. How about now?
It looks like it's coming. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I hope this isn't too dry for you guys, but we're going to just start. The moon is really bright and large and contains a wealth of detail. It's available all year. And it's really nice because it's possible to image it from anywhere, even areas with light pollution. In fact, the moon is light pollution, and it doesn't appear to rotate, which facilitates recording, many frames and massive data collection. Um, in the early 1960s, when President Kennedy had, declared, the goal of going to the moon, we were woefully unprepared. There was um, very little information on the moon, and there were many, many theories. There were theories as to what the craters were formed from, whether they were volcanic, whether they were not. So the United States, brought three programs to bear to map the moon from space a little more clearly. The Ranger program, of course, Lunar Orbiter, and the Surveyor spacecraft, the Surveyor program, which actually did soft landings on the moon and photographed the moon from the ground. This is a photograph of Surveyor 3, which landed a couple of years before the Apollo astronauts landed. And this particular picture shows the second crewed landing mission, Apollo 12, which only 4 months after Apollo 11, November 19th, 1969, landed on the moon only 600 feet from the Surveyor 3 spacecraft.
That's incredible.
And by the way, the astronaut in the picture, Tom, do you know who it is?
No, I
The
do not.
astronaut in the picture is Alan Bean.
Oh,
And
is it Alan Bean?
Alan Bean became an astronomical artist and famously was the guest speaker
That's
at
Delphi.
the 2009 Cellophane. So did you see him there, Tom?
I saw him. He was fantastic. He was
Right.
so good. Were
Yeah.
you up there that year, Joe?
I was not there that particular year, so I missed him, and boy, I really regret it.
Because I had heard Neil Armstrong talk a couple times, and it was
Right.
so dry. I mean,
Yeah.
tremendously dry. Like
Yeah.
like you were getting like a classroom lecture on like, okay, and then we did the fuel, and then we did this. Alan Bean was totally the opposite. He
Right.
was all about what he felt, and all the goofy
Yeah.
things they did. And he had some wild stories he told. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he landed with Pete Conrad. This was his first
Yeah.
trip into space, and he only did two. He was, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to digress too much, but he also flew, I think, on Skylab. He was a Skylab astronaut. So he flew twice in space. Fortunately, we lost him in 2018, but he became a tremendous astronomical artist. But it was amazing to me in the second crewed landing that they would do something so audacious as to land within 600 feet of the Surveyor.
That's
He, by the
ridiculous.
way, that arm there on the Surveyor, he clipped that off, and that arm is now in the Smithsonian, and you can go see it if you want it. But I just thought I'd mention it. But those space efforts were also supplemented by ground-based observations. This is the Kuiper 61-inch telescope, which is on Mount Bigelow at an altitude of 8,200 feet above Tucson, Arizona, in the Catalina Mountains. And that was paid for by NASA. So they would produce an atlas. And the atlas that they produced is thought by some to be the finest ground-based atlas ever produced. And on the right is a photo of the crater Tycho, which was taken from this atlas. This is a similar picture, but it wasn't taken at 8,200 feet. It was taken at an altitude of 90 feet by some bloke in Delaware County,
Yeah.
And, the difference, of course, here is, this telescope had 35 times less light gathering power than the one on Mount Bigelow, and didn't have the advantage of altitude. But what we do have now is wonderful sensors and powerful computers, which can pretty much remove the effects of weather and seeing and whatnot. It basically has the possibility to, at least in some part, negate the effects of the atmosphere. And we do this, of course, through Lucky Imaging, high-speed video cameras, similar to DSO cameras, but with small sensitive sensors, take really, really short exposures. They're usually not cooled. The frame rate is not as important for lunar which makes life easier because, the moon doesn't really rotate relative to the Earth, so we don't have to worry about, shooting an object for 1 minute and then, shooting it again and combining different exposures and window posts and things like that. So it becomes somewhat easier than traditional planetary imaging, and usually we're not using region of interest mode. We're usually using, full screen, which leads to a lower frame rate, but frame rate is not as much of an issue with lunar imaging, because we have more time to do that. And we also record in AVI or SER, video formats. We can also use MP4 and MOV videos from cell phones and mirrorless cameras and DSLRs. And using the above, we can amass huge amounts of data, and we can use free software. All of it is free to sort out the best individual frames, digitally stack them, and denoise them, and sharpen the result. And it's just wonderful what we can do these days. These are some of the popular software programs that we can use. Tom just showed his version of Jupyter on SharpCap. I generally use Fire Capture, but the results I think are pretty much the same with both. So the thoughts that I think really help is to have really good polar alignment, really good telescope balance, really good collimation, and really good thermal equilibrium in the telescope itself. And the one thing that I try to do is really work really hard on collimation and really hard on polar alignment. And I usually check like every couple of months and try to make that better. But these are all like very basic things that anyone can do, and none of it is terribly difficult. Tracking and electronic focus control are really helpful. And I try to always shoot when the moon is near the zenith. So, there are certain seasons when it's better to shoot than other seasons. So I sometimes go months without shooting it. But, when the moon is in Taurus and Gemini and Aries, that's usually a great time to shoot, so there's better seeing at that point and better transparency. And and I usually try to really be careful about focusing. I focus on the lunar limb using zoom. I zoom the screen, and I try to be really, really careful about that. These are all like really simple things that anyone can do. That's my rig. I shoot outside, and I just use USB cables. I mean, I'm kind of, I guess, in the dark ages with that to bring, the different videos, video and other components in line. And the mount I connect to a router and wireless router and control it that way. But that's basically my setup. It's a picture of it. And the mount itself, the pedestal itself is just made from 6x6, 4 6x6s that go through my deck. And there's what's called a dead man down there. It's basically just a block of concrete which holds that in place. And for me, actually creating that and building that was one of the best things I ever did, because it just makes life so much more efficient than taking telescopes out and bringing telescopes in and polar aligning every time. It has really been a big help for me for that situation. But the telescope is 20 years old about. The mount, I think, was from 2010. So it's been around for a long time. And, there's much more modern equipment out there at this time. That's my basic setup in the house. I just use a laptop, and I have these 2 attachments that attach with USB-C. So I can actually watch the focus, watch the capture, watch the mount, and do slow motion controls and things like that. So one program isn't overlapping the other, and that seems to help. The wires just come through a window. I have a pool noodle that I put there, to seal, from the outside. I mean, it's really pretty basic. USB cables.
I have stolen all these ideas from Joe, by the way. I have the pool noodle. I have the cables coming in. I have
all these antiquated ideas, right?
I have the pressure treated pedestal and bird in concrete.
Right.
I mean, I just
Right.
stole everything from Joe.
Yeah. I generally use 2 cameras. I use a one-shot color camera with a smaller sensor and a monochrome camera, an AS-174. ASI 174. Not even sure if they make that anymore, but it's really a wonderful black and white camera. I guess I've had it for 6 or 7 years.
It
Before
is
that,
still
I
available,
just,
Joe.
are they?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
still
before that,
available. Yeah, it's a great
is
camera.
it? How about that? Before that, I used to just use security cameras. But boy, I'll tell you the new stuff. This is really new, but this is really amazing and much better than where I started. So I use color and monochrome. The monochrome sensors, as you know, probably already know this, feature slightly better resolution and better throughput and work better with filters, but both types seem to work. I use red filters and mono camera. Red is supposedly a little bit better, and the reason is that the change of index of refraction is a little bit less as you go towards the redder part of the spectrum than when you're in the blue part. But if you look on this graph, the amount of difference between red and green and blue is not really that great. But these are the three filters that I have. The red for the mono. I use the ZWO IR cut filter. If you look, I mean, you can see how the cutoff here is in the infrared. So it really doesn't allow much infrared. And the ZWO IR cut, you can see like there's really little bandpass in the infrared part of the spectrum. And I also have a ZWO IR pass filter, which only passes infrared. And that is like, I don't know if you folks have ever used one, but it's amazingly opaque. I mean, you can't see through it. I can hold it up to a light and I can't see through that camera, but that cuts out the visible and only works in infrared. And that is supposedly, people tell me, very good if you're shooting the moon, you don't have an atmospheric dispersion corrector and it's low on the horizon, because it basically don't need an atmospheric dispersion corrector if you're using one of these. So from that standpoint, I guess it could be advantageous. I don't have a ton of experience with it.
What have you used that filter on, Joe? The IR pass.
I've used it on the moon. I have a couple pictures I just will be showing you in just a second.
Okay.
So I did a little test, and these were the exposures. And you can see, like, using no filter and using a red filter, the exposure times are just about exactly the same. But using the infrared, you need a much higher gain and a higher exposure time. So these are just a comparison using this really shot of the moon. This is a Mare Imbrium region. This is no filter. You can see crater Plato there. Red filter. Not a huge difference. And there's the IR pass filter. The one thing about the IR pass filter is I don't see as much clarity as I do. It seems like the dynamic range is less in IR than in the other with the other two, but it still seems to be. This is no filter, red filter, IR pass filter. So I thought maybe I could do some demos for you if you like. Let's see if I can end the show. So this is a map of the moon, and I'm shooting it with fire capture. And just wanted to show you basically the controls for fire capture, exposure, and gain.
We're not, I don't think we're seeing that, Joe.
Are you not seeing it?
I think I'm still seeing like your
Just the
PowerPoint,
PowerPoint.
but just frozen.
Oh,
So you
Oh,
have to share the fire capture program, I think. The
okay.
screen you have that on. Try that.
Let's see. Sorry, guys. Hmm.
You might have to unshare and then
Yeah, you
share
might have to
again,
yeah, might have to get off. Yeah, probably have to
and then
unshare the
right.
PowerPoint and share the other.
You know what? Maybe I'll do that at the end. Maybe I'll keep going if that's okay. And
That's fine.
maybe at the end try that. I'm sorry about that. There's Vlad. What's he doing here? What's going on, guys? I'm sorry. Oh,
What you have to do, I think, is start your slideshow from the current slide there,
here
Joe.
we go. I think I'm okay. I think I'm all right now.
Yeah, just
No,
do
it kind
that
of
and
like
you'll be good.
it kind of froze up. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I
There
think we're
you go.
good. So this had to do with the histogram in there. Like there's a histogram readout, and what I was just trying to show is when you shoot with fire capture, you want to keep it below 50%, the curve, because there are little areas where, like the base of craters and things like that, where they catch a lot of sunlight, wouldn't necessarily see it on the histogram. So you want to keep like the bulk of the histogram below 50%. So I did a stack. I did a stack of 500. This is the worst single frame, best single frame, um, a 500 frame TIFF final, and a 10,000 frame TIFF final from those videos. 500 frames, 10,000 frames. And for people that want to know more about fire capture, this fire capture features explainer is really great. It's from a group in the UK and explains just about every little dial and every little possibility you could think of in fire capture, because it's a little bit complicated. So I just wanted to mention that. Sampling. Agapio spoke to us a couple of times and spoke about sampling. And basically his idea was, you want to go 5 times your focal ratio. And so for the 174, the size of the pixels is 5.86 microns. You really want to be shooting about f/28. However, I've shot at several focal ratios, and I want to share that with you just a minute. This is a mono with, these are monos with 10,000 frames. So that is the Alphonsus area of the moon. And this is at f/10. So this is actually undersampled, basically. But, there's supposedly problems with undersampling, but in reality, like it doesn't really show up all so much.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, this is an interesting object here, Katina Davy. This is
That is cool.
thought to be from, a meteor hitting the moon and then, bouncing around. But in reality, they're starting to rethink all these things, and they're thinking that there's another one up here, a crater chain up here, and they're starting to think that these things are actually caused by electrostatic discharges, because they never really find the body that did this. They never really find anything ejected from these things. And to have something as precise as that, it seems to be, people are starting to think, geez, maybe something else is causing this. So anyway, I thought I'd share that. This is just the Clavius region of the moon. I wanted to point out this particular crater. This is named Porter, and it's named for Russell Porter.
Oh, Russell Porter.
Yeah, so
I like your limb there, Joe. You can see the little peaks, peeking up, versus being a smooth round edge. You see the
Yeah.
little peaks. That's neat.
And one of the things I wanted to point out was these areas right here. This is actually overexposed right here, and because there's so few pixels that do that. If you look at the histogram and say, gee, I'm really safe, I can shoot at 60 or 70%. Actually, you may not see that. You know what I mean? So like if you look at these up here, so you want to keep the histogram like I would think like below 50%, like 40% maybe, which leads to initially to a dark image, but you can always lighten it later on.
But Joe, I don't understand exactly what you mean there.
Oh,
In that
well,
in that if you dial that back on the histogram, then you're not going to get some of that. You might just clip some of that dark.
oh no, you don't want to go off the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to go off on the dark end. But you don't want to go like if you put it 50, 60%, there's so few pixels that are overexposed that you may not see them because they're just hugging the bottom of that graph. But yet when you go to do the processing, these pixels are they're gone, and you can't get that back. You might make them gray, but you'll never get any data from that.
Okay. When
So
you say that those bits are overexposed, they're still they're it's not clipped on the other end. It's past what you would like, if you will.
Um,
Am I
well, I
saying that
think it
right?
is. I think it
Yeah,
is
they can
pit.
actually clip. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is pit. It's clipped. It's
on the
clipped
right
going too
side.
far to the right. Yeah, yeah. But there's some that are involved in that.
Yeah.
99.9% of the pixels there
Yeah.
are really where they should be.
Okay.
So
So
when you look at the graph,
you just might be being you're being overcritical on your image. I
well, I
guess.
don't know. But the peak is so like
Right.
the the height, the y-axis of that curve is so small that it's hugging the bottom. So
Right. Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
looking at that histogram, you don't really see it.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
so that's why I try to err on the side of going a little bit dark, not clip it on the other side, but try to keep it dark enough because you could always post-process it later and make it brighter.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. But if you blow it out on the other end,
Right.
there's nothing you can do with it. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Thanks.
No, that's okay. This is at f40, so which is higher. This is actually oversampled, but I, I don't know that. I guess I don't think it's as tight, what we have to do. I mean, I think we can, we have some leeway in on the equipment we have, and I think if somebody wanted to get started in doing this, just pretty much work with the equipment you have in the beginning and have fun and not worry about these things so much that you're afraid to do it. So this is an f40 image. And this is an f40 image. This is Posidonius. This is on the
Beautiful.
right side, the east side of thank you, of Mars Serenitatis. And it's actually, I wondered about this crater for years and years and years. As it turns out, they think that this is a crater within a crater. And then the crater that's inside the other crater was flooded subsequently
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
by lava. It's really crazy. It has all these little rills running through it and everything like that. For
There's a lot going on there.
yeah,
That is so
yeah,
good.
it is a weird image. For
Oh,
scale,
that is so
this
good.
this little crater here is Posidonius Y, and that's about 2 kilometers in diameter. So, and the other thing I just wanted to point out is this wrinkle ridge. Mare Serenitatis, where this is famous for its wrinkle ridges, and that's called Dorsa Smirnov. So just to kind of give you an idea for scale. This is another area. This is also an area on the east side of Mare Serenitatis. I just wanted to point out this is the crater Latreille, and above it to the north, which you can't see, are the Taurus Mountains. This is Taurus Latreille, which was the landing site of Apollo 17, and the Apollo 17 site was right here. And it was kind of bounded by a couple of what they call massives, North Massive and South Massive. Sorry about that.
That was a
This is
lot
North
trickier of a
Massive.
landing spot, you know.
Yeah, South
Wow.
Massive. And this was, this was their last trip to the moon. This was the last people to walk on the moon. And they were trying desperately to try to find the oldest rocks they possibly could. And there was evidence of volcanic geyser volcanoes in that spot. So they were trying to prospect that spot and try to get these and pin down the oldest age for the moon. I mean, they were going for age at that point. And so it was Harrison Schmitt was there, a lunar geologist who actually became a senator from New Mexico, served a term as senator, but he was the only geologist who ever went to the moon. And yeah, so, and this was a shot. This is South Massive. This is the, of course, the rover. And this is Shorty Crater, where they came up with that orange soil. I don't know if you remember that, but that's the spot. So
it's a really neat picture. There's some of those old Apollo pictures are just outstanding,
yeah,
know?
they're crazy, they're amazing.
Really?
And some of them I think are mosaics. They they were produced from many pictures, but wow, it's just crazy. So I'm going to talk for a couple seconds about lunar mosaics. Using software, it's possible to combine individual images of contiguous areas on the moon, and those mosaics can show a lot of detail. And image composite editor is a great software initially made by Microsoft. It works really well in this application. They don't make it anymore. They've retired it, but it is available, and it supports 8 or 16 bits. It reads raw images. It can handle large documents, and it does automatic exposure blending. So if you have images that are just a little bit different, if the atmosphere isn't cooperating for one of the images, it's a little darker, it actually will adjust them a little bit. And and it also will do panorama rotation. So this is it. And you can actually do this little tiny planet stuff. If you wanted to image your house and your environment and everything like that, you can create a little tiny planet with this software. And the way to get it now, you can't get it from Microsoft, but you can get it from a website called Softonic. So with these, we determine exposure for the brightest part of the moon in the mosaic, set the exposure on the brightest part of the moon, set the exposure on that, and then and just go with that for everything. And it's really important to record directly on our auxiliary drive, because when we shoot planets, we're using a region of interest. So, we're not really gaining as much data, but when you shoot full bore, it just will destroy the hard drive. I mean, it just will fill it up so fast. On fire capture, there's actually a little gauge there, and it shows like your hard drive just disappearing, as you're shooting the video. So it's good to record directly on an auxiliary drive, because it'll be gone in no time. And if you're shooting many panels, which takes some time, it's best if you do it so the moon is near the meridian of the midpoint of the shoot. So I'm just going to show a couple of examples. And when I shoot, I just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I use a generous overlap, and I guide the individual frames. So on fire capture, if we don't get to it, there's actually a bullseye you can put, and you can move it all around the frame. So if you put it near a crater, you just kind of keep it, from going off frame, because you want to have all those edges really clean, so that when you put it, put the mosaic together, the software doesn't have any issues. So this is a 150 image mosaic at f20. I don't know what I was thinking. On a 9-day, I did this a couple of years ago. It took 3.5 hours to capture. It took about 2 weeks to process. Better at it now. I know the moon a little bit better than I did back then, so I could probably do it a little faster then. But Yeah, I mean, I probably need a little therapy, but um, these are the individual frames. These are most of them. Um, and these are sub-assemblies because although the software is great, it won't handle 150 frames. So I had to like figure out where these frames were, put them in different regions of the moon. I actually like printed out a picture of the moon. I changed the labels on all the frames, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like wrote them on the map and then put it together as regions. So that's the result. And
That's
this
really
was a
neat.
couple of years ago.
The cool thing with an image like that is you can zoom in like crazy and just get more and more detail. It's outrageous.
Yeah,
Hey,
this is
Joe,
interesting. Yes.
would this work for deep space at all?
Oh, yeah. The software?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I've used it for that.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Great.
yeah. Yeah. No, it works great for that. It works
Well,
really, really well.
with that in mind, Joe, because you said with the moon that if one region's a little bit darker, it kind of like will blend it. What if you took two images, deep sky images, would handle like if it was just two frames and you're trying to get a seamless thing there, but there's a slight gradient difference. Would that help? Would it do anything with that? Or
A slight gradient, but it's difficult. Like down in Starfront, I've done them where I've done like 6 panels and 5 of them comes out. And the sixth one, I just can't get it to go. Even down there in a border one sky, it seems, there's still a lot of variability in the transparency as the night goes on, and especially if you shoot on different nights. So what I did down there was, I would shoot, 1 or 2 panels one night, 1 or 2 panels the other night. It was really difficult. So what I started to do instead was shoot shorter. I try to shoot all the panels in one night and maybe just do a couple of exposures on each one, and then do the same thing the next night, the next night, the next night. It seems to work easier though for the moon. It's not, you can't always get it, but it seems like it just works a little bit better for the moon. It might be
like
that the moon is so bright, you know, I'm not shooting 10 hours, um, difference. I'm shooting maybe 1 hour difference, 2 hours difference. So usually, the atmosphere is a little more forgiving, but um, this is Copernicus, by the way, Crater Copernicus,
this
Eratosthenes.
coming up? Yeah, look at the interesting
Archimedes.
dark area there, just to the right of the mountain chain.
Yeah,
Towards
that
the middle. That's
is, I'm trying to think
interesting.
what that is. Yeah, sinus, Ariatis, trying to think. Um, um,
The
this is,
contrast is really nice in this. I really like this.
yeah. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, Apennine Mountains, the
Yes,
highest mountain range on the
happening. Yeah.
moon. Yeah, they rise to 14,000 feet. Apollo 15 landing site there. But,
This is
um,
really, really good.
oh, thanks. This is just the Southern Highlands. And Plato again, a little bit of Mare Frigoris here. This is an 80 image mosaic with a 4.5 day moon. I shot this a day after that commercial lander landed in Mare Crisium right here. Firefly Aerospace launched the Blue Ghost lander, and it landed, I guess this was maybe last September. Um, Whatever. And I shot this a day later. Um, and I didn't know where it landed, so I looked it up and it was Mare Crisium. I thought, geez, it's a crescent moon. Let me try to shoot it. So that was the result from there. So Mare Crisium and Sea of Fertility here. Just some craters, probably heard of all these.
That
Anyway.
was what Wayne was talking about, the Messier craters there you just had.
Yeah, Messier,
Yeah.
Messier.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. These were a lot harder to shoot because the moon is actually, it's not, you don't have a lot of time to shoot it. And the moon's going down and the um, you know, the in the refraction is getting in there, atmospheric refraction, and the transparency is changing as it's setting. And it was really kind of a challenge to do this, but um, it took me a long while to process that. This is just a 40 image mosaic at f10. Um, and the other one
Joe,
I did was at
I was
f20.
wondering
Yeah,
that
yes.
if you use the IR pass filter in the daytime to shoot the moon, would that help you?
It's a wonderful idea. I never thought of that. I should try that. You know,
Because that would be something on those thin crescents and all, that
that
are.
would really be something. Yeah, that would really be something.
I was curious
Yeah.
about that.
How about
I
that?
just I just got an IR pass filter a couple of days ago. Haven't used
Right,
it yet, but I'm thinking of different things I want to try with it, and that would be one of them.
right, right. Yeah, how about that? Geez, that's a great thought. Never thought of that. This is at f10. I compare the f10 to the f20. I think the f20 is a little bit better. And I can't put my finger on why, but I think it just, I guess the plate scale is a little bit better. So this is just shooting a mineral moon. Um, so a mineral moon it just has enhanced colors, and it hopefully displays the subtle views that are normally there on the lunar surface, but are difficult to see. And the variations presumably indicate variations in surface composition. And there are certain differences. The crust of the moon, for instance, the Southern Highlands are lighter in color than the mares, and the mares are made up of different materials, whereas the Highlands and the crust is made up of calcium and aluminum based minerals that are relatively light. The mare areas of the moon are made up of uh, minerals that are high in magnesium and iron and also in titanium. So that's one reason why the Mare regions look darker. And the basic minerals here are olivine, pyroxene, and ilmenite. And ilmenite is a titanium ore. So, and interestingly, in March 2024, there was a Sky and Telescope article that talked about not only photographing these mineral moons, but this particular article said that throughout the ages there have been visual observers who saw color in the moon. Hevelius, Axel Fursoff, Robert Wood, who was an optics professor down at in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins, believe it or not. So they said that these in the age of visual observations, it was fairly common to see color in the moon. So, and there's two ways of creating a mineral moon that I know of. And one is to combine mono with one-shot color, use the mono for the detail and blurred one-shot color to get the colors. And, you can combine these in, Photoshop or GIMP or Affinity Photo. People say that there are those that say that, that's the best of both worlds, to have the, excuse me, um, to have the mono and the one-shot color. Excuse me. And the second way would be to just shoot it in one-shot color. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So I'm going to just show a couple examples of the one which is was combined in Photoshop of a monochrome layer and a color layer. This is just the crater Tycho. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. And this is Schroeder's Valley, um, which is in Oceanus Procellarum on the western side of the moon, and is a giant volcanic complex, probably the largest on the moon. It was thought to be responsible for filling this giant Oceanus Procellarum, this ocean of storms, with half the lava. So it's really a huge complex. And there are also some interesting craters here. This is Aristarchus, and this is Herodotus. And up here, this is, I'm trying to think. Oh, darn it, it slips my mind. But anyway, it's a tremendously large rill system. The rill is between like 10 kilometers wide, 1 kilometer wide, extends for quite a distance. So these were just done with mono, a mono picture with one-shot color added. So and I used a Canon camera, and created just JPEGs, and that's how I got the color for these. And when I put them in Photoshop, I converted the JPEGs to 16-bit, and then just combined it in layers. So this is another one. This is done with mosaics, where I combine two mosaics. Excuse me. Again, using just a Canon camera for the color, and my Celestron for the mono. And this is just a recent mosaic. And this was combined in GIMP. And I did it in GIMP because, I have a copy of Photoshop that I got years and years and years ago. I mean, it's probably 2 decades old at this point. I don't remember, but, right now there are so many other alternatives. So I combined this. I tried to learn just enough GIMP that I could use the layers feature in there and combine color and mono. So this is the mono sequence, 8 images at f10 with the 174 mm, and just combined in Registrax, and so that's the mono, and these are the color images that I got. I did these actually with the one-shot color camera, not the Canon. So combined the same way. And if you notice, it's green, and all the deep sky guys here are used to getting green results, that they have to color correct later. And this is actually the histogram that I got. I got the resulting histogram and put it in Serial, and wound up with this. So you can see that the green is ahead of everything else. So the first step is to just do a color balance thing, and that could be done in just many, many programs. You can do it in Photoshop using autocolor. You can do it in Serial. You can probably use levels and curves, but the idea is to get it so that the center of gravity of all these curves is pretty close to one another. And when you do that, that's the color corrected image. And it looks like a black and white image. And that is because, the moon is essentially a black and white object. There's really not much color in it at all. So that's the one-shot color image and the mono image. And they look almost identical to my mind. Mono and color. Very, very similar. And, the interesting thing is the mono is supposed to be more detailed. And yet when I look at these, they look rather similar. So when you get these back, the backgrounds usually look like this. And there's 2 ways to fix that. And one is to is to actually use levels or another program to make these areas around the moon, the sky, black. So it actually has a reading of 0. And then maybe in Photoshop or GIMP or whatever, just color it in black. And another thing would be to create another layer and just paint one layer black and then put that under the other layer to create a dark sky all the way around that. So that's really easy to fix. And so this is basically what we did in what we're going to do in that. So this is one-shot color and mono processed in GIMP. Now here's the result using only color. So basically what we did was we just change it and make the color neutral and then just basically use saturation. And what saturation does is, there's an RGB, it takes the brightest color, the color with the greatest value, and it just expands that. And you can see that the red here is actually smaller and the other two colors are greater. So it kind of creates a caricature pixel level. So that's the result, just with color.
Wow.
It got me thinking, is it really necessary to use mono data? And the two cameras I used, the color camera actually has smaller pixels. And I wondered if that was the reason why it actually looks more, just as detailed as the mono camera. So they're the creators, Copernicus and Kepler, and their ray systems. And just a comparison of the two methods.
Joy neat.
In 1994, this Clementine spacecraft was sent to look at the moon and kind of characterize the minerals there, and then it also went on to visit an asteroid, Geographos, I think was the asteroid. But he created this map, and if you look at the two maps, they look kind of identical. They look similar. The map looks similar, I think, to what this image is showing anyway, at least superficially. So this all has to do with regolith, the lunar soil. And right now it seems like it's becoming more and more of a strategic resource. And, I think that countries are getting more and more interested in, going there and utilizing this resource and maybe keeping other countries out. It's going to be interesting the way this develops. And about a week or two ago, I queried on YouTube regolith. There's no shortage of people that have opinions about this, about mining regolith, using it to power spacecrafts, 3D printing titanium from the soil. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where all this goes. But so these are just some recent experiment. Especially with the F40 shots, I've been trying to improve them. And I noticed that if I put them in an auto stacker and get the result and put it in a smoothing program to smooth it out before I put it in Registax, I actually seem to get a better result than if I go to Registax directly. And I wonder whether, these images are still noisy enough that the software that Registax is using is kind of having an issue, So that's just in the initial stages right now, but I've been kind of reprocessing some of my older images this way. And Graxbird isn't even for planetary purposes. It's a deep sky image. I don't use it for anything else than the smoothing routine on there. So
What do you smooth it at, Joe? What level do you have it? Like 0.5 or
Yeah, about 0.5, and I don't know whether I'm just deceiving myself or not, but um, it
that's
seems
interesting.
like I got a little better result.
Yeah.
Um, so so this is just talk a little bit about contrast. This is a recent panel that I did at F20 of the area like Paus Putridinus and Mare Imbrium and the Apennine Mountains, which are on the right here, Hadley Rill, which was the landing site of Apollo 17. Craters Autolycus and Archimedes. And this is an interesting spot because where they landed was right at the area where Hadley Rill takes a bend. And this particular image is really cool because you have Hadley Rill coming in from the left and then turning the corner right where the rover is and then heading to the west. So I always thought that was a great image. And it's also the area between Autolycus and Archimedes was the landing spot for Luna 2, which was the first man-made object to reach the moon. And interestingly, there was some intrigue about that. They never found the crater, but they know that it landed somewhere there. But following Luna 2's crash into the moon, there was, it was just further evidence that the United States was behind. And the Soviet Union paraded the backup spacecraft, which everyone assumed was just a mock-up, to different cities and put it on display. And the United States wanted to get a look at that. So while it was in a shipping crate, preparing to be displayed, some secret squirrels from the CIA went in and disassembled it and photographed it and put it back together. And they were delighted to find out that the spacecraft was actually a functioning spacecraft. It wasn't a mock-up at all. So yeah, a little bit of intrigue there with that. But I look at this image and it has a lot of detail. It's probably the best image I ever had of Hadley Rill, but it just seemed to be lacking something, And if you compare it, it's all because of contrast and all because of when I shot it. And I think with all these images, contrast really does mean a lot. Shooting, not just shooting well, but shooting at the right time, shooting when the shadows are just right.
Yeah.
So that being said, I have a camera here. DVAA Telescopes has a camera that anybody who wants to try this can have. So let me know if anybody wants to give it a go and get you a camera and guys can try it. But so that's it.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
going back to when you're talking about Graxpert for
Yeah.
smoothing,
Right.
I'm just curious whether you've ever tried John's Uber Smooth.
You know what? That was the next thing I was going to do. And I'm not sure whether I have Uber Smooth on this instrument or not. And I had Graspert right there, and I kind of did this as a whim, And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was my thought. That probably would maybe even work better,
Yeah, that'd be a good
Um,
thing to try. I mean,
right.
it works pretty good. I use it on almost everything.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
use it a lot too. It's a really nice program.
Yeah, I'm sure it would work great. And I kind of did this on a whim, and I started using a little bit, but I haven't gotten that far on anything that I could really say, gee, this is really working.
Joe, could you go
Yeah.
back to that slide where you had that link for the instructions on a fire capture?
Uh,
You kind of jumped around the fire capture, the demo you were going to have.
yeah. Let me see. Was there anything particular you were looking for?
I just wanted to photograph the link so I could
Oh,
go
sure,
on
of
it.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
Scroll down, Joe. It's like slide 30.
Is it? Okay.
There you go.
Yes. I'm sorry about that.
36.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, darn it. Sorry.
Oh, oh,
Sorry,
way to
sorry, sorry,
go.
sorry. Sorry. Oh boy. Oh, sorry about that. I hit the wrong button.
As long as you're sorry, Joe.
I am
That's
very
okay.
sorry. No, no, no. We're gonna get this for you.
36. 36, Joe.
36.
That looks like it.
Okay, great.
Sorry about that.
No, I appreciate it. Taking the time. Thank you. Got it.
Sure.
It's easy for me to take the picture than try to write it down.
Yes, definitely.
Joe, that was great.
Yes,
Very
terrific.
good. Very
That was
good.
that was
Oh,
just
thank you.
fantastic. That was an extremely good video presentation. Thank
Oh,
you
well,
so
thank
much.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
a
you.
lot
Oh,
of work.
thanks.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
right.
sorry I couldn't get those videos, those demos to work. Let's see if I can, I don't know if I can bring one up.
I don't know. If you don't get one up on Friday night, maybe we'll slap the crap out of you.
Can you see that? Can you guys see this?
Now, actually, you have to stop sharing for a minute, Joe. Stop sharing a PowerPoint, like say stop sharing at top of your screen, and then go back to share, and this time pick your fire capture.
Okay.
So you have to get out of it completely.
Do I? Okay.
Earlier on, Joe, you said you really emphasize thermal equilibrium.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I kind of get that naturally because I keep the telescope outside,
you do.
Um,
Okay.
but sometimes when I take the cover off, I still let it, cool down or warm up or whatever a little bit.
Yeah, I was talking to Steve about this a little bit ago because Steve, you keep your scope outside all the time,
Yep.
and I guess if you do that and make sure it's covered from the environmental issues, and maybe you don't have to worry about that so much.
I do it just because physically it's difficult for me to take it
Right,
in.
right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I always bring my scopes. I typically have them in the garage, which is probably about 10 to 12 degrees warmer than the outside air, but I put them out at least 2 hours, sometimes 3 or 4 hours before I'm going to use them. Just let everything cool down.
The trick,
Yeah.
the trick with that though, Tom, is you sometimes you don't know whether or not you're going to put it out that far at a time.
Well, I've put it out and taken it back in once or twice in this December timeframe, I'll
Yeah.
tell
Okay.
you,
Yeah.
where
Fair
it's been
enough.
promised. And I thought I was
Right.
going to get skunked tonight because it started, they kept updating the clouds and it was getting a little bit worse and later. But now it's still hanging in there right now. I think it's supposed to get clearer as the night go on. But
Right.
Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Can't.
Mhm.
It
Yes.
looks like a bunch of graphs.
Right, right.
yep, we got it.
This is Microsoft Ice. This is the Ice program that stitches together the to make the mosaic. So I have 4 images on here. So I'm going to stitch them together. I'm going to hit stitch.
No, that's cool.
Wow.
Can you see that? Yeah. So it's really easy to use, really straightforward. Um, so that
So basically, you just say what files you want, tell it to stitch, and off it goes. It tries the.
right, right, right. Yeah. And the others I had was fire capture and but I mean you guys probably know that pretty well. Uh, but anyway,
Very good, Joe.
Yeah, well
Thank you.
done.
Oh,
Well
beautiful
done.
Excellent.
images.
thanks. Sorry I got screwed up with some of those.
It's okay. Hey,
programs, but
question, how do you push your Celestron to f40?
I have a 4 power Barlow.
Okay.
It's not a, it's a Teleview. It's not a Barlow.
Power mate.
Power me.
It's a Power Me. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
4 power Power Me. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So, but if you listen to it, I mean, I should be operating like at f28, not at f40. So when it worked, I kind of did it as a lark, and I was as surprised as anybody that it did work out. Interestingly, though, if I shoot at f10, about half the frames are usable. If I shoot at f40, about 8% are usable. Like when you look at the graph in AutoStacker, I only have about 8% that look decent. So you pretty much have to shoot like a 10,000 frame video to get enough to stack. Even then, you only have 800 frames to work with. So you're really kind of pushing it.
And what kind of mount was that?
Oh boy, that was a Lost Mandy Titan mount that I
Okay.
bought in 2010. So if someone was looking for a mount now, I'm not sure that would be, I mean, they're smarter, a lot smarter mounts that are out now than the Lost Mandy. That being said, it tracks beautifully, but it requires maintenance. Like I take it apart and I oil it, and I take off the old grease, and so I mean, I spend like a whole day on it every so often, and it sits outside, so it gets a lot of really bad, gets a lot of weather out there, you know. So it does require maintenance. But if I were to be getting an equatorial mount now, they don't even make. In fact, they don't even make the Titan anymore. They have the G11. They
Right.
make. I think they might still make the G8. But the Titan went out of production a while ago, and I think it's because it's finicky. It's a finicky mount. Like you have to adjust it just right. And it took me a long time to learn how to do that.
Titan had a better weight capacity than the G11.
Yeah, it did. It did. And what they started to do was they actually created the Titan and then put a G11 declination housing on it. So one option they have now is a hybrid of the two. But I think they had trouble with the worm drives, like having the worm. Like I think adjusting the worm drives was really difficult for a lot of people, and it really was for me too. And I pulled my hair out for a long time until I actually learned how to do it. But it really is a great, it's a great mount. I have a G11 too. And they track just beautifully. I don't know how long Lost Mandy is going to be hanging on. I mean, with all these other offerings that are out there, you know, it's really an older technology at this point. Anyway. So if anybody
And
wants to use a camera, let me know, and I'll get a camera to you. If you want to give it a try. It's really a lot more nuts and bolts than other types of photography. Like deep sky, I find is really difficult. Like I really struggle with that. Planetary is hard, but I think it's easier. Tom and I were having a discussion about that today. It's easier. Lunar is easier yet, because you don't have to worry about using Winju post. You don't have to worry about, capturing the planet in 90 seconds before it rotates out of the frame. It's much more forgiving, and even if it's not something that it's the main thing you want to do. I mean, there's still nights when, you have a moon that's really bright. You can't do deep sky, and it's not a bad way to spend an evening. I think. And when you start reading about the history, the geological history of the moon, I mean, it's a geological wonderland. And when you start like reading about, the struggles that people did, to get to the moon, and you have a chance to photograph like the landing sites and things like that. I mean, I think part of that was I think that's part of why I was always drawn to the moon. When I was in grade school, I was in grade school during the Mercury program, the Gemini program, and the beginning of the Apollo program. Whenever they had a launch, I mean, I'd say, "Mom, I'm sick. I can't go to school." And she knew, she'd keep me home. God love my mom, but she knew I was faking it, and I would just sit there and watch Walter Cronkite all day, or Chet Huntley and David Brinkley. I would just sit there for hours and hours and hours glued to the TV, and I think that's why I always kind of had a soft spot for the moon. But anyway, does any other folks have any other thoughts?
Can you tell us about your pier?
Oh, the pier. Oh, yeah. The pier is just 6x6s, and there's they're they're fed. They go down under the deck and into just a block of concrete. And I don't
That's
think the block concrete is
something you poured?
something was poured.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I had some help on it. My daughter's dating this guy that kind of was in work and out of work and in work and out of work, and I had him doing all this work in my house just to give him something to do, and I was going to do it all myself. And one day I said, you have a wheelbarrow? And I had him actually pour the concrete for me, and then we got strips of deck material and put it on there so it didn't look, quite so bad, to make it look half decent. But it's it's wood. I mean, that's all it is. And
it's isolated from the deck?
yeah, it's isolated from the deck.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's isolated from the deck. In fact, initially it wasn't, and I actually took the deck pieces out and kind of routed them a little bit to give it some space. But yeah, I mean, it's low tech. It really is.
How deep is the hole
The hull.
for the concrete?
Cross line, right?
Well, I think it's about 18 inches below, and then the concrete is about a foot. So, and it doesn't drift. I mean, I check the power alignment quite frequently. I used to do it with just drift alignments. Now, you can use an ASI Air or whatever to do it, but it doesn't really change. Sometimes in the spring it's a little different, but I think it's probably due to heaving, from frost. But it doesn't change much.
Well, if you pour on a pier, I know in my pier, I had to go down 36 inches
Right.
below to get below the frost line.
Yeah, I'm not that far down. It's been a long time. Now my deck, I need to get that part of the deck replaced. It's starting to get a little weird. I've had it for a long time, so this might be interesting. But
And how did you make the mount to the top of the wood?
well, Los Mandy sells like a ring,
Okay. Right.
and it's kind of yeah, it makes a ring and it fits right into it. And
Okay.
yeah, so that part was really simple, just hex head bolts. Yeah, it really was simple. Hex head wood.
Lag
They're actually
bolts.
wood. Yeah, they're actually wood, but they had hex heads on them, so I just used
They're
you know,
lags.
Lag
yeah,
screws. Yeah.
right. Lag screws. So that's all I used, and geez, it's worked great. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. It really is. It really worked great, you know. So it may fall over one day, you know. There might be termites down there. I mean, I wouldn't know, but it's pretty solid, you know. Mm.
How high is it off the ground? What's the mount height?
It's
Like, how do
fairly
you-
high. It's actually a little bit too high. You know, it's I guess maybe 4.5 feet, you know. So
Why do you say it's too high? I mean, you don't use it for visual, so what determines your height?
well,
Vibration.
right. I only use it photographically, so it doesn't really matter. But for visual, Like if I'm looking at something near the horizon, I have to use a stepladder for it, you know. And the reason why I did that was I was toying with the idea of getting a refractor, you know, at the time, and you need a little more length on the pier for that. But yeah, no,
Also
that never.
for me, it's the higher it gets, it's the harder it is for me to lift the equipment up onto it. So
Right,
that's also an issue.
right. Yeah, the C11 that I use isn't really heavy, so it's not really too much of a problem, you know. But yeah, if I could take a foot or two, maybe a foot and a half off that, I would really. In fact, I've really thought about doing that, you know.
All right, if you need a circular saw, I think plenty of us got some. Give
Right.
me a camera, I'll give you a saw. There you go.
Yeah, no, I've thought of it, you know. I have thought of it. Anybody have any pictures?
I've got
Yeah.
some. Looks like Wayne has some. Go ahead, Wayne.
Okay. Let's see. Um, here. Okay, is that working?
It's coming.
Got something. We got a desktop here of some sort. There you go.
You see two pictures there?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so they're as near as I can tell, those lines are pointing to the nova. I was a little confused when I looked at different pictures. Gary's pictures indicated that object, um, but there was one or two that showed different spots. So I'm thinking this is that now on
That
the
looks right.
November picture, hmm?
That looks right to me, Wayne.
Yeah, the November picture, there were some clouds, and this image I had processed this, stacked this before I learned how to cull properly the through the images and get rid of the ones that were not as good. And so this one came out a little darker, but the thing I noticed was if you compare the brightness of the middle of those three stars, which I believe is the nova, uh, on in October it was only slightly brighter than the lower of those three, and in November it seemed like it was noticeably brighter. Uh, to me, it seemed like it got brighter relative to the other two stars. Uh, it's
Wayne, you shot this with a Schmidt-Cass?
uh, no, this was with my stellar view refractor.
Okay.
Um,
No, that's really
and
cool.
an ASI 533 camera, and I was in the process of doing a three-panel mosaic of the Andromeda Galaxy, and this is one of those three frames. And so after the October session, I didn't get as much time as I wanted, so I set it up in November again, both times over Green Lane, and I have combined them, but I haven't finished processing them. So this is partially processed. It's you can see it's still kind of grainy on both of them. But when I combine them all into one, uh, the grain should be less. Um,
The November one looks a little bit redder to me on my computer. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah, it
that's
looks
just
definitely
mine.
looks redder here.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
well, they're both color calibrated, so they should be uh, relatively accurate.
The colors
I
of the other
used
stars are all similar. Yeah,
the
right.
both.
colors in the other stars didn't change. Just that one changed.
Just that one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, since I'm colorblind, I'll accept your verdict on
Yeah.
that.
Early
I
on,
can't tell.
a lot of those images early on were like bluish, and then it got red.
Honey,
How
it didn't
about
look
that?
bluish to me. Joke.
So it was interesting to see that I captured it in both of them. And eventually I'll get the finished mosaic done and processed. I've got a whole new workflow that I'm trying to learn now that all these Verilux utilities have come out for uh, Cyril, and I process these with those. Uh, the guy that produces videos. How do I get out of this? Am I still sharing?
No.
Okay. All right. The guy that produces videos demonstrating all these features with Cyril has been struggling to keep up as all these new Python scripts came out. And so I made a list of about 14 to 20 steps that he's doing between after you stack a finished picture, going through all these steps of cropping and background extraction and denoising and color correction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and to get to the final work. But they could do the new stuff, could do a great job on stretching without as much work. Um, a lot of the utilities are easier than they used to be.
Isn't retirement great?
Yeah, yeah.
You said you had some pictures, Steve?
Yeah, all of these are from Starfront with DS30. I got to share first. Do we see that?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Nice.
this is a Hubble palette that it's a version of a Hubble palette. And it's probably a little crazy, but I got to a point where I thought it was pretty interesting and I just stopped. So
I really like the color on this.
Yeah.
That's
It's an
spooky.
interesting shot.
yeah, I did too. And it shows a lot more detail in some areas rather than just the flat red that, overshines everything.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
Here's the jellyfish. That's in HA03. And it doesn't tell me how long it was. It was probably 3 or 4 hours. The good thing about Starfront is over a couple of days, I can get more time on any given object than I normally could here. Of course, it's a pretty small telescope too, but now this is Dryer's Nebula, and it's pretty faint, but I ended up collecting 12 hours of total time on this.
It's interesting. I never saw that one.
Yeah, me neither. What
The one
constellation is that in?
it's in
Oh,
Monoceros.
Okay. Dryers. Interesting.
So one of the things also that I'm noticing now is up in the right-hand corner, This telescope is, I've got some elongated stars, which is something in the telescope. So I don't know if anybody else has seen that with their sea stars.
Yeah, I get a few elongated stars
Do
in
you?
one or two corners,
Yeah.
but got a script called Aberration Remover in Cyril that does a great job of correcting that.
Yeah, I'll have to look for something in PixInsight, but so far I'm not worried about it right now. So here's the elephant trunk. I think this is the first time I've ever imaged the elephant trunk.
That's a nice shot. I really like that one too.
Yeah, it's got, you know, it's a little bit soft, but it's got some detail in there too. Of course, everybody images this and it's bright, but
But it's a pain in the butt. It's a toughie.
yeah. This is the first time I think I've gotten the full, or at least most of the bottom of the main part of Orion there. And that was, oh, it doesn't say how long it was. I'm not very consistent on how I name my files. That's one thing I have to get better at.
Steve, that's with the 30.
Yes, this is all with
Okay.
the 30.
Right.
All of these. That's the only thing I'm using right now. I haven't used anything in the backyard for almost a year. Now this was just very interesting to me. This galaxy is just so different.
Oh,
It's
sculptor. Yeah.
Sculptor.
53. Yeah.
That's the
don't
one they
think-
call the whale.
No, it's not the whale because the whale is up in Canes Venetici, I call it, or whatever, up in that
Yeah.
area. It's in the spring. This is pretty low. But it's big.
But
Big
it's
hunk.
hard to figure out even how it's formed because it's almost like 3D in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of jumbly. Yeah.
And
Really nice definition, though.
Yeah, and that's 30, Look at
That's
the size of
amazing.
that.
It's crazy.
well, I'm just still astounded with that S30 in dark sky area. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do this in my backyard here. It still would be pretty good in the backyard, but it took me to a different level by sending it or getting it set up down there in Texas.
Witch's
So
head.
yeah, the witch's head. This was extremely difficult to process. Um, it's very faint, and it was just an extremely faint grayish outline. And 3 times I threw everything away and started from scratch again to process it. And eventually I got the witch to show up.
So the witch was a bitch, huh?
It was big time. This is Lowe's Nebula.
Flowers Nebula.
Wow,
I found it was pretty interesting.
that's nice.
That's hard to process. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
It is.
Tom, do you know about them?
No.
In ATM, guess it's 1 or 2. The lowers were amateur astronomers back in the 30s and 40s, and they were from Los Angeles, and they were great telescope makers. They built, this is a father and son team. They built like think it was like an 8-inch f1 Schmidt camera and used it
Wow.
with red filters. And they discovered Harold Lower and this son, I guess, they discovered Lower's Nebula in Los Angeles with this Schmidt camera they built. In
Um,
F1,
I
they
guess it
built
was a
it
curved.
themselves.
It was a curved plate. I bet. You know.
Yeah, probably. I'm guessing they used film.
Yeah.
They used film, and yeah, they used a curved focus. You know, a
Yeah.
curved
Like,
focus.
yeah.
But imagine that, and that thing is really difficult and difficult to process because it's really very faint. That is a beautiful result. That's
thanks.
crazy. Wow. Yeah.
So, this one Tom knows about because
Yeah.
I
It's another
talked to him over
story.
the phone. Uh, yeah, this is one that I couldn't process at all because the main object here was off to the far right of my final stacked image. And I could not figure out why. And I spent a couple, 3 hours stepping through all the subs to find three that were off to the right, eliminated them, and then everything just came right in. So I'm still trying to understand why they weren't eliminated, first of all, and secondly, why they made such a drastic impact on the final image. Now, this is very dim also. Um, so the fact that I had this, and just one of those subs was contributing most to this problem. And once I eliminated it from the stack and reran it, then I was able to finally get this image out of it, which just actually shocked me because of what I started with. So I don't know if anybody else has seen this. It's called raspberry or sometimes strawberry, depending on where you look. And this is 4.5 hours of data.
I hadn't
It's,
seen that one before either.
I'm looking at your right upper corner, and the stars seem nice and round in these.
Look in all the corners. It depends on maybe. Actually, you're right. I don't see it in any corner. Oh, I know why.
You crop it down?
This is highly cropped.
Oh,
That's why.
oh, so you handed us a bunch of crop, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's why it's cropped. All right, so that's all I got.
No, great,
Very,
great
very
images.
nice. Very nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Um, where do I shut this off? Oh, stop sharing. Okay. So yeah, this being in Starfront with this cheap little telescope uh, has really given me a lot to do and a lot to enjoy, uh, especially over the winter time. So I'm an ambassador for Starfront for anybody who's looking for a dark sky. I'm just, it's great.
I can uh, I can share real quick what Jupiter looks like now. The red spots come on, the Io shadows across. Um,
Hmm.
that's what it looks like now. I guess you can see that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
Red spot came on.
Hmm.
Io itself, I can't see. I can see it when it first came on to one of those darker belts, but it's since into the white to the it's probably about 3/4 of the way across to the right. But that's its shadow coming. And you can see the atmosphere has gotten a little more funky. It's really jumping around a bit here, but there still are moments where it gets steady. Like right now, look at look at the shadow of the moon. It's everywhere. But then it settles down. And that's the reason, like Joe was saying, why we shoot these videos, because you get that kind of stuff. And then there's short moments, like now's better, um, where you can capture some frames. And that's why you want the frame rate up in the case, especially with planets. So I'm shooting at about 133 frames per second right now. So anyway, hopefully a number of these will come out. I'll be able to make a little movie out of it, showing it rotating.
So the direction you're pointing in, is there anything under Jupiter, like a house or anything like that?
No, it's up high. I mean, the closest thing right above, right about at earlier on at about 6:30 or so, um, it's right above my house because my house is uh, east of my pier, but it's up high now, so really it shouldn't be anything. But it could be things like a plane. If a plane comes within 2 or 3 degrees, it'll wipe me out for a while. So any kind of planes are really a problem. They're
Right.
they're much worse than anything, really.
Hmm.
Um, but see now it's
Tom,
settling down again.
Tom, do you have to periodically recenter Jupiter?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
constantly actually.
Okay. Yeah, because I was shooting that down in Chiefland when I was down there this past 2 weeks. Because I wanted the first time I wanted to try to do some planetary stuff there. But I'm going, what's my
Yeah,
polar alignment off?
no, because well, the thing is, you're pretty small field of view here. I mean, Jupiter's like 50 seconds of arcs. That whole image in width is only about 2.5 minutes, and in height probably a little under two minutes of arc. I mean, it's small, and you want to keep it centered. So I mean, if it drifts over 5 seconds or so, and I'm not. I tried a sharp cap thing tonight with having it keep recentering, but it was doing it so often I didn't like what it was doing, so I just bring it up a little bit. Um, so I kind of just tweak it. I kind of like watching it anyway, just to see how things are going, to see if it's really going bad or the clouds come over or whatever, just to have it. Anyway, figure I
So
just
Tom, that's the
yeah.
hand controller you have inside, right?
I have the hand controller, yeah.
Yeah.
I could do it through Sharp Cap too, but I like the hand controller better. And I got I got 3 wires coming to my house anyway. A fourth one doesn't make much of a difference.
And that's an ioptron map?
That's an ioptron. That's the
And
CEM 70.
and the backlash is pretty good, so you don't have to like go past it and come back.
No, I don't do any of that. No,
Okay, cool.
I've never tweaked it. They have a backlash. If you have trouble, you can tweak the little
Right.
tiny ounce. But I haven't done any of that. It's been outside for. I had it for the first 6 months. I had it on a tripod, and I bring it in and out of the garage. Then I built the pier, a la Joe's design, and it's been outside for about 3.5 years now, and I haven't touched it. I didn't do any maintenance to it yet. Hopefully I don't have to.
You
I think it
bring
needs belt.
you bring the tubes in, but leave
I
the
yeah, I keep yeah, I just cover the equatorial head and the pier,
okay,
and I always bring the tubes in now
right.
because I don't have my tubes are long, like the 10 inches long. This is 8 inches, but I use this for my little 60 millimeter line. I put my 6 inch f9 on it. Basically I have 4 scopes I use on that. So um, the build shed seems overkill. It's just I just pop the scopes on it. All of them are easy except the 10 inch because the 10 inch weighs about 50 pounds.
Right.
And it's you get holding it out from your body, and it's got this huge moment arm, and you're trying to tweak it into that dovetail with something that looks really, really small as your arms are holding out with 50 pounds in them. The dovetail looks smaller and smaller by the second, So it's an interesting thing. Anybody else have any pictures? Or are we wrapping up?
I'd be happy with just some clear skies.
Yeah, I was glad tonight. I was really surprised. I thought it was going to be okay last night, and I saw it going kind of getting a little funny. And then I was thinking, well, Thursday's going to be a good night, but now tonight had better seeing. And this is the first time that I've seen Jupiter the entire this whole cycle. Um, I've been waiting and waiting for it.
Next door to me, they put a couple of big industrial floodlights up, and they
That's
have
nice.
tilted up a little bit too high. It what they're doing is they're reflecting all over the place. Now I figure with the snow on the ground, no
Oh,
way.
it's really bad with the snow. Yeah, the sky's really bright. I mean, it's noticeably, it's as bright as it is, it's noticeably brighter because of the snow.
Yeah.
It's like having a mirror on the ground.
I'm gonna wait until we get our thaw out there before I guess I test out my new EFW.
That'll probably be a
Yeah,
few weeks at least.
It's going to be really cold these next few days.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I've seen the temperature this close to zero.
well,
It may hit,
nice thing
it
is
may,
here I don't have to run off batteries. I can run everything right into the 12-volt power supply.
right. Yeah, it's going to be really cold this next few days. This has really been an unusual winter, I think.
Friday's supposed to be the
Tell me
worst.
about it. I put 18 hours in snow plowing on Sunday.
Did
Oh,
you?
geez.
Wow.
Yeah, my part-time job since I retired, I got certified in heavy equipment. So
Right.
I remove snow for my across the street neighbor. He's got a big commercial landscaping company, and he's got equipment in 3 states at different big sites. I do a medical office complex now. I used to do one of the super Home Depots when I first started with a bigger machine than I'm using now. But this little smaller tractor, it beats you up because it doesn't absorb all the shock like the bigger ones did. But
It
hey,
was a challenge.
it's good. It's good pay for buying more Astro gear. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay, well,
Well, thank you, everybody.
9:40. Yeah, thanks a
Yeah.
lot, Joe. You did a great job.
Those
Yep,
were
great
beautiful.
job.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Very impressed with your knowledge of the terrain and the features as well.
Thanks. I forget as much as I constantly look at these maps and, the next day it's gone. So I'm constantly trying to, keep it in there. And it slowly leaks out.
We're
Do
all
you know
there.
do you know that you can get the Apollo audio tapes off the Internet Archive? So you
Can
could
you?
listen to like hours and hours and hours of, all 6 missions.
How about that?
Anybody
Yeah.
want the link?
Yeah, sure. If
Yeah, post it.
yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see if I can find it. Watch now, I won't be able to find it, right?
Yeah. My favorite memory with my father was staying up late at night watching those lunar excursions.
Yeah.
Didn't want to go to
Right.
bed as long as they were out there.
So this is just one of the wave files, but from there you can navigate up.
Up
And,
to
and
the
they have,
others. Thank you.
yeah, and they have it broken out by mission, and they're in like 2-hour chunks, 1-hour chunks, I believe.
How about that?
So they're all, the Internet Archive is amazing. So
How about that? One thing I didn't mention, I was showing that Alan Bean next to the Surveyor spacecraft. You might be wondering why it's in black and white. They forgot the color film and left it on the moon and didn't have time to go back and get it. So everything from that mission is in black and white.
no, wait. Where did they forget it? I mean, like they came back you mean like in the lunar module or in the
No, I
rover?
think they left it out on the surface, and they said they didn't have enough time to go back and retrieve
Who was
it.
that, Alan Bean?
Alan Bean.
Alan
That's
Bean
a
and
great
Pete
story.
Conrad.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great story.
Those guys were always goofing around.
Oh,
He actually,
would take a golf club?
that
Somebody
was
took
Shepard, yeah.
somebody
But
took a
on
golf
that,
club.
on
Yeah,
that,
Alan Shepard
yeah,
on Apollo 14.
on
Yeah, he
that
had a
Alan
golf club.
Bean mission with Pete Conrad,
Yeah,
Alan wasn't trained at all to fly the little lunar module, and Pete Conrad was. So he's the guy who landed it. And as they took off, they went around the far side of the moon, and Pete says to Alan, "Hey, why don't you fly this thing?" He says, "I can't fly this thing. I never flew it before." And he goes, "Oh, it's easy. Just try it." And so he's there. Well, NASA's going to see it. He goes, "No, we're on the dark side. They're not going to see it." And he said, and as we come around, we'll go and we'll put it back in auto. It'll correct. And if they say anything, we'll just say it was a glitch. So they did that. They flipped it off. You can imagine these guys are really crazy because this is the only way home. Here they go, flip it out of auto, start fooling around with this thing, and then they bring it around. He gets to fly it. Then they get close to where they're coming around the side of the moon, flips it back in auto. It does some corrections and stuff, and NASA's looking at the data and they go, "Did you guys have any problems back there?" And Alan just goes, "No, there was a moment where the computer glitched for a second, but
Right.
it straightened out." Kind of thing. That was one of the
You know,
stories
they
he
were
was. That was one of the
he
stories
and
he told about the
Conrad.
skull thing.
Yeah, he and Conrad and Gordon, I think, were really tight. I think they were really good friends, you know.
They were
I think
next door neighbors too,
right,
as it
right.
turns out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they were really good friends. They goofed around a lot.
yeah.
It's
Not
great
many
stuff.
of them left, you know. I think there's only
No.
four out of the 12 are still living, you know. Too bad. Well,
Okay,
right.
I guess we should shut it
Hey
down.
guys, yeah,
Sign
I
off.
See everybody Friday.
I'll
yeah,
get this
take care, you guys.
Take
Yep.
care.
All right. Thanks
recording
again.
Thanks.
uploaded.
That was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Great,
Take care.
great.
Great
yeah.
job. And
All right.
thanks, John, for
Thanks, John.
Yep.
getting
John,
this up
thank
for
you
us.
too, you know.
You guys are great. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you
All
soon.
right.
I'll get this
Okay.
Take care,
uploaded for
John,
you.
and good luck the next few days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
good
so
luck with
much.
that. It's
All right.
All right.
I
You
know it's
guys
Take
are
care.
wonderful.
Thank you. Ciao.
Okay. Ciao. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.